Well, it's very good evening to you. Our viewers, witnesses joining us late in the night. It is 8:15. What time is it where you are? Ingwai kwa Moriko Koko. Let us know where you are. Just type in the comment box right there. Our viewers, witnesses are very late. It is 8 p.m. Quickly, just one or two major stories and also developments that we update you from time to time as and when. Press the share button. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Good evening to you. Good evening, good evening, good evening to you. Of yours businesses, join us live right now. Okay, so here we go. Type in the comment box right there. Let us know where you're logging in from. Just a small update here as we go into the night, midnight. Over 5 generals who have been arrested on various charges of a predictable pattern. In the last week, okay, people coming in right now, watching from Cape Town, okay, and various parts of the world and also the country. And so sources close to the developments have told this news network the pattern of arrests is too predictable to be ignored. And the development comes at a time when the ZANU-PF president, Emerson Mnangagwa, has threatened death on anyone wishing to replace him. Two things. Good evening. Number one, military generals being arrested randomly, being picked up and taken to remand prison. And we have up to 5, according to the record that we have in our possession on this news network. And while at it, it is recalled that the ZANU-PF president Emerson Mnangagwa has, in the last 2 weeks, announced on video that anyone who wishes or dreams of replacing him, number one, anyone who also dreams or wishes to see a replacement of him should first go through the corridor of death. They must be put on death row. A speech that Mnangagwa made when he used Kembo Mohadi as his reference point to illustrate a person who is a military person, who is also a hierarchical person, someone who has got some potential to either attain or to influence a change of leadership, that they should use his example of being put on death row and to suffer what he claimed is poisoning that he claims that he encountered before he could take over power in this country, Zimbabwe. So when these developments happen relating to the arrests or some shifting of movement around the possession and or disposition of military generals, Emerson Mnangagwa's statement is recalled. That we do not have the names of the military generals at present who have been arrested, but reliable sources have disclosed that there is suspicious movement around the welfare of military generals. Why is it that we don't have the names? The procedure for apprehending soldiers is different from that of civilians because soldiers are court-martialed. And so, quickly, let me just recap. The charges are varied, so there is no single charge. However, the pattern of the arrests, according to our sources here, signify something or an operation that is too predictable, something that people read. And this is another way of using the term suspicious. So quickly, of yours witnesses, that is number one story. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was just reading some comments here that were just flashing in front of me. And I think as I will be ending, I shall read the comments. Good evening to you. My name is Simba Chikanza on your news network, zimI.com. So quickly, next matter here. The ZIG currency. The ZIG. What is the status with the ZIG? The government is battling with the falling or the fluctuation in the value of the ZIG. We can authoritatively state here that there is commotion inside the corridors of power where the so-called saboteurs of the ZIG are being hunted down, and the current belief inside government is that senior officials of government are behind the collapse of the ZIG. We will notice that there is a statement that George Charamba released on Twitter that suggested that Charamba is criticizing his own boss, Emerson Mnangagwa. That tweet, shall read it straight away. It states, when President Xi announced One Belt, One Road, OBOR initiative, now popularly known as Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese banks rushed to provide loans to actualize this intercontinental initiative. When President Mnangagwa announces an agricultural policy, banks in Zimbabwe shun it. Can someone explain the differences in response? Let's assume the word confidence is erased from our vocabulary, please. Kuti, timbonyatsofunga, zvine udzamu, let's go. So this is what George Charamba announced. I'm just going to put it on. I'm sure people can see it on the screen there. He posted this, and he appears as if he is criticizing his own boss. And I remember, you know what, we had some exchange and with George Charamba there behind the scenes, and we were saying, hamusi maakutema boss wenyera apa because this is not vataipindira kaiyoyo isu ndo zvatoda kaizvo kunyatsodhira nekuti mazo the ground can no longer hold together. When you talk about confidence and you put Emerson Mnangagwa in the same line, what are you trying to say? Aren't you hitting at your own boss? Now, it turned out that there's actually an instruction to Charamba. Charamba atopuwa instruction yekuti taurai buritsai nyaya iyoyi yekuti kune vanhu vari kusabotazha zig, vari kusabotazha confidence, vasina confidence nuna president iyo vanoti president wavo anonzi Emerson Mnangagwa. Amauti pamwe ndipresident wako hereyo, but inini handimuzivi Mnangagwa. Ndipresident wechizviye, ndewezanu. Ndokuzvishava nere ndewechii president. But anyway, president wavo vari kunzi vari kusapota chapresident wavo mapolisi ake nezigi rake. And by the way, let's not forget amazimbabweans, the statement by Chris Muchangwa a few months ago at the beginning of the year when he said the president's new name is going to be Mr. Strong Zig. Mr. Strong Zig. How many remember that word? Right. And the president is now going to be called Mr. Strong Zig. That's what Mr. Strong Zig. Saka Strong Zig kana Zig yadona manje anenge akunzi chi manje. Mnangagwa anenge akunzi Mr. Weak Zig. How do you wig Zig? Anenge pamira say. Svinenge zvamira sei izvozvozvo. Right. So this is the Zig. Yakamira says Zig there. Who are the saboteurs of the Zig? Ndianani vari kuita kuti Zig ripere simba, Zig rishaye simba. The system is now busy searching kuti ndianani. Who are these people who are behind weakening the Zig? Toda kuvaziva kuti ndianani. You know what? I want to say here, I'm an investigator. And so when people ask me this question, because you know what? I've investigated and I've shown you how many times, how many layers of evidence have I shown you who is behind weakening the Zig? And my investigations have been clear that there is the first culprit behind weakening the Zig is a man who comes from Zishawan, whose surname is and means in Shona a, an individual who is heading into a dead end, a dead-ended person. Right? I'm gonna ask those who know Chishona. People who know Chishona, help me. What does the name Mnangagwa mean? Because the way I understand Shona is that Mnangagwa actually means an individual who's headed into a dead end. Right. So I, in my studies, in my research over the years, I have shown documents, I followed money, I mean, don't I say I'm a Zimbabweans? How do I convince all of you? How do I convince the government? Or how do I convince this man whose surname is a dead end, whose surname means a man, a person who is headed into a dead end, right? How do I convince this man that he is the cause of the collapse? He himself is stealing from the currency. He's stealing foreign currency. He's exporting the gold, the forex to Dubai, to other countries. He's legalized everything. I mean, this man even hires people who have a character like Hubert Angel to become his ambassador, people who are well known for hiding money, for illicit financial, and he makes these individuals ambassadors and the like and the like and the like and the like, and they even boast on video that they can transport millions in suitcases. And they actually do these things. So how do you want me, people, how do I say, how do I convince this man whose surname means a person who is headed into a dead end, that he is headed into a dead end? How do I convince him? Help me. Ndibatsireiwo itai muchitaipakapa. Eh? Right. Aiwa ndibatsireiwo. Kuti Mnangagwa zvinoreva chii? Handi zvinoreva kuti munhu akananga kugwendo gwagugwa. Hazvisiri zvero. Munhu ari kuinda mugwendo, ari mugwendo gwagugwa, a person who is heading into a dead end. Saka ndomubatsira sei? Because even nezita rake rinototaura kuti iye ari kuenda, ari mugwendo gwakagugwa nakudhara. So how do I? Ndotanga ndichiti chi. You know, it kind of reminds me of even his first name. He says that his mother gave him the name Hlupeko in Isindebele, right? And then later on, his father decided to give him a second name and then decided to name him Dambuzo, which is exactly the same as Hlupeko. It's just different language there, right? and and so he is the one who then at one time later on decided to call himself Emerson, but his mother and father gave him two names. They kept on giving him names in all the languages of the country that mean trouble. So how do I convince trouble, whose surname means a person heading into a dead end, that he is going into a dead end? How do I? Ndotanga nchiti chi, young man. I'm on nditanga nchiti chi. How do I? Right. Okay. So quickly. Ndoma sine zigi. Ushazopera say. Hanzi nemwe ushazopera. Mira imoneka ama Zimbabweans. Ndrukudza yote. Panema sports. Arikuputika very soon. Arikuputika. Musina kutarira. Right. Someone saying, one thing about Zimaiga, Zimai News Network Ema Sports, Avana no Ramberap. Use Vegas. Because every time on over Zimaiga, Panama Rusha would come on. Kwe or was one access Yegutaura na Axiria Mnangagwa Rini. Unuse would go. Munutara nane live in Mkadzwa president. So we president was sorry. Right? Auto president was right? So Tora na say, some people like the other time, vakachamisika kuti kosimba chikanza wazosangana na Monzora rini. Kosimba chikanza wozoona Monzora masports aya azoputika akunyepa kuti hanzi simba chikanza andipindira murumu mangu. Iye ndiye anga atobuya murumu mangu inini. Rumu yangu inini ndiye anga atora maki yangu pa reception. Akuinda. But chinzwaika maZimbabweans. Munhu akonzeresa. Someone who destroyed our parliamentary democracy. Listen to me, Zimbabweans. Monzara is not just a person. When you see, the day you saw, through by my examples, the day you saw, Zimbabweans, the day you saw Simba Chikanza talking to Oxidia Mnangagwa face to face on live camera for 35 minutes, you knew immediately that a big expose is about to come. It did not take 12 months after that. The Gold Mafia documentary. And some of you, mams, numbers, so to coach chichiruketika ipapo. Tilenge tichanda tiri behind the scenes here. Anenge ari masports anenge achingoputi. Saka the day you see Simba Chikanza aina in the Mnangagwa akabata makumba Mnangagwa so. Mnangagwa aripo. Ukaona Monzora ndi Mnangagwa kwa uzizereo. Ukaona Chikanza aina Monzora for 7 hours. 7 hours. Uona akadhakwa. Akabatwa mpahuro na Simba Chikanza. Zvokusvika zvokuti anotengerwa anenge atori achishaya kuti anoita sei apa haana mari akaita kukomberedzwa naZimba Chikanza kuti anoshaya kuti anoita sei zvese. Ukaona zuva rachina rasvika iroro rekuti munhu waMnangagwa aripo pakadaro, unofanira kuziva kuti kumbereko kwavo kune chakuda kuitika kacho kumbereko. Nokuti ziso, ukaona ziso rakuona kusvika pakadaro. Amena kuti ndikutaura nemadimikira here maZimbabwe, ndikutaura nchiti chii. You've not been seeing me doing these kind of commentaries for a while. And the reason is because I'm an investigator. I'm not a socialite, okay? I'm not a Twitter person. And neither am I an award-winning or an award-seeking person. I'm an investigator. So sometimes I can even stay away. Ndombogara musango so. Oh, ndakanyarara so zoti Zimbabwe gara musango so. Pane zvaari kuferefeta. Maibata. Hi Ernest, how you doing, brother? Ziva kuti pane zvaari kuda sei? Zvaari kuferefeta. I hope people get it. I hope vanhu muri kupika. Itenga muchitaipa kama, muchitaipa muchiona kuti tiri kufamba tese. Right. Someone is saying, but is it true that we have 5 military generals as generals arrested? Right? You need to understand that when these generals are arrested, it will not be a normal type of an arrest that is announced, like the way they arrest Jameson Timber, the way they arrest opposition people. Why? Because these individuals they are not civilians. When soldiers are arrested, it is done quietly because these people are tried not in a court. They are the law enforcement, if you do want to call it there, that is done, or the policing that is done against these people, is the kind that involves hiding the detail from the public. Because vanhu vechisoja vakasiyana kanemi kana maibata vakasiyana nemi. Right. Quickly, regaiti manye nacho. We saw the death of Chinga Dube. How many saw the death of Chinga Dube? Why am I repeating the death of Chinga Dube? Some people couldn't get it. Right. When we're talking about military generals, we're not just talking about serving military generals, we're also talking about those who are also in the retired. Understand, they're also my generals. My name, my levels are. So quickly, who is Chinga Dube? Chinga Dube is a Politburo member. He's also is a very, very senior ZANU-PF member from the Zipra side. The Zipra side is the most powerful side of the liberation fighters. So quickly, Chinga Dube died a few days ago. And this is just within a few days of calling for the cancellation, the stopping of Mnangagwa's 2030 mantra. The 2030 slogan, Chinga Dube is against, even in his death, he is against this 2030 mantra. The 2030 mantra says Mnangagwa must run the country, must rule into 2030 until he's like 90 something. Right. So Chinga Dube is the very same person that was also during the Mugabe days, before the coup, remember? Before the coup, he is one of the people who started talking. And when these people started talking about the removal of Mugabe, you must understand what was now going on there. We'll notice there's a Facebook account called Operation Restore Order. How many have seen that page? There are some messages that are being posted here that are quite cryptic, but they say a lot about what is happening in ZANU-PF. When you see things being posted, being announced like that. One person says something, they appear as if they're dreaming or they're daydreaming, and then they go away. But particularly if those people have got military ranks that go back into the Rhodesia Bush War, the Chumirenga War, you must understand. And like the Bible says, let him, when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing in the way, let him who is on the housetop not return into the house but run. Okay, so there's something going on. Okay, now that thing here, understand, it doesn't necessarily mean the immediate removal of Mnangagwa. You must understand, but it also means in the immediate some convolution, some convulsions, some things that are happening inside the apparatus, the what is called the deep state. So Chinga Dube called for stop Mnangagwa. And then let's understand here. One thing that I want to say as I'm getting to the end here, which is extremely important, relating to this country. This man called Emerson Mnangagwa, here is his problem. The reason why it is when he's speaking, when he's doing whatever he's doing, the power of Mnangagwa at any time is in what he said when he was threatening using the Mohadi metaphor. Remember when he said that anyone who wants to replace me needs to first die, they needs to first go through the death row. Need to understand Mnangagwa's conviction. in 1965 had nothing to do with the liberation struggle. This man, his character is that of a murderer. His first victim of death was his own sister. Understand? Mufana unzisa ukuthi munhu paakazonzi dambudzo nemaparents ake, when his parents called him dambudzo, what exactly did they mean? What exactly were they talking about? They were talking about him being a trouble, such that his first victim attack at the level of death was his own sister Diana. And she talks about this today, that he fed her poison, snake poison, when they were kids. And that's why Mnangagwa has got a black mark here, is because he was beaten up, thoroughly beaten up, and thoroughly beaten, right, by his sister, punishing him because he tried to kill her. Understand who Mnangagwa is. So by the time we got to 1964, 1965, Mnangagwa had been convicted of killing someone. Nothing to do with bombing. Yes, bombing train and all that. That is a whole bunch of lies. Hakuna chinhu chakadaro. Haana chinhu chaakauraya uyuyu in terms of liberation struggle. Akaita izvo, akaita humondi. Wanga huri to do with civilians chete, and had nothing to do with any political cause. Once he was in prison, that is when he then started building his political career, like Hopo Chingono. Zvekusona mabhodhoro zviya, waakusangana namwe vanhu vari mujeri imomo. And then you start aligning yourself with political prisoners. That's where he met real political prisoners inside there. And that's where he started just kuzvipa nyembe yekuti nini ndanga ndirimo muno mujeri nevamwe ma-political prisons. That is how he built his career of a political person. So we need to understand Mnangagwa is by nature, listen to me, not kwete zviya zvokuti hanzi training, kuti hanzi heye akatraina kuchina, kuti heye akazodai. Hapana training yaakapiwa military uyu. Hapana kana chinhu one chaanoziva Mnangagwa about military. Hapana, even kusaluta chaiko chaiko. Kwambona Mnangagwa achisaluta anyone. But unoona vanhu vakaita sana HH, unoona vakaita sana Obama, savana Biden vachisaluta. Why? Because they were trained. Uyu hapana kana training yaakapiwa uyu. He is just a murderer. Munhu uya atori mental condition yokungouraya chete. Saka you need to understand kuti munhu akaita sei. Mukasazvinzwisisa izvozvi maZimbabweans ka, muchaconfusika. So while he was in prison, that is when he then started to volunteer to work for the Rhodesians. So he would spy for the Rhodesians inside prison, spying against the political prisoners. And so they then assigned him because the Rhodesians needed someone who is daring, with that capability. And then they then manufactured a new CV for him that would appear as if he actually bombed trains, because they wanted to infiltrate the group that was doing these type of sabotage attacks. So by 1975, Mnangagwa, when he was released, he was on a Rhodesian mission to go to Zambia and then infiltrate the comrades there and appear as if he is a liberation fighter. And his first target was Tongogara's cousin. That's how he became a relative of Tongogara, and then automatically that is how he became a relative or someone who is senior in the ranks inside the Zanla. But that was towards the end of the war. That was in 1977. Munhu akajoina kumberi nyika zvinyika hondo yati yatopera uyu. Akuzozviita mumwewo wavo kuda kuzonzi ndiniwo ndanga ndiripo. But by that time, he had already infiltrated from the top, because through marriage, through sex, he had become the relative of the most senior military general. And that made him automatically Robert Mugabe's briefcase handler. And so he had successfully managed now to infiltrate. Once he was there, his strategy now has been, since 1977, as Karen Kazingizi, a war veteran, says during a press conference in Harare, He started launching his career as an Ian Smith mercenary since 1977. That is what he has been. So, what has happened to these generals? Why it is like what Mota Muzembe says that Zimbabwe has got more military generals who have died in the last 7 years than Russia and Ukraine put together. Has got more. The speed at which generals are dying in Zimbabwe is faster than Russia and Ukraine put together, countries that are at war against each other. Why it is because of one man. His occupation since 77 has been to kill. And he doesn't kill as a trained soldier. He kills as a mentally deranged individual. Those are Tongori since birth. That is why his own parents called him Dambudzo. His mother called him Hlupeko. Father called him Dambudzo. So when these generals are being moved about, shafted about, my generals are vakapusa, vakapata, vakarowa. Ndiyo problem inoitika yoi in any struggle, including in the opposition, including opposition. Kushaya intelligence, you need to value intelligence. The kind of work that we produce on this news network, people have seen the kind of news reports many times that we produce are the type that we would have spent years digging. It's like when you see Gold Mafia, you never think that Gold Mafia took 7 years. Listen to me, 7 years. Before Al Jazeera signed me in 2019, I'd spent 3 years since 2015 investigating the mafia. So total 7 years, quality, intelligence, depth of investigations. The problem with every struggle is that people, when they are fighting for liberation, they do not value intelligence. They don't value what is called the Chinese call R&D, research and development, quality research. When you come to both Mnangagwa and even Chamisa, this has been a big mistake. Kwese, political kwese go kwe. When you give them intelligence, vanukuseka. When I myself told Mnangagwa in 2021 that Hubert Angel is going to mess you up in March 2021, if you ask Tongai Mnangagwa, those who talk to him, you can even bring him onto the screen, he will tell you, and I still have the text messages, the intelligence data that I gave these people for free. I should have charged them. Charge money my God mafia. Because I worked. I'd spent 4 years investigating Hubert Angel. Ndakavapa mafera ndakati munhu uyu achakunyadzisai muna March 2021. I gave them for free. And some of them spent 9 hours over the phone on that night, when it was now clear that Hubert is on his way to Zimbabwe to become an ambassador. I gave them for free. I'm not related to ZAN, I'm not related to the government, but I know this man, Hubert Anjo, is going to mess you up and you'll be the first casualties. That was in March 2021. Hakuna kupera 8 months. 8 months did not elapse before Hubert Anjo was the one who was leaking all the secrets za Mnangagwa to my guys, makomana mangweni, pa Glasgow. So not intelligence. This is the problem. It's the same thing. Yatiri kutaura EOE. Mama generals aya. Havana kuvalue intelligence. As long as I'm talking right now, they will never call Simba Chikanza. Say Simba Chikanza advise us. Simba Chikanza give us some this, help us on this, help us on this. No, no, no. They will call Simba Chikanza because they want to instruct him what to publish. saka ndikutaura kuti vese vavava magenerals, even vana Mnangagwa, even co-opposition is the same mistake. Vanhu vekwachamisa makangofanana mese, ZANU nevekwachamisa. You don't value munokundwa nemachinese. MaChinese, they are quiet, vanenge vakanyarara so, vakanyarara vachistata. MaChinese vanopinda munana London, vanopindawo kuNew York, vanopindawo vakanyarara so, vakangoti tuzi vachinyora manotes. Ukaona vachingonyora manotes so, vachinyora manotes vakanyarara so, vachitora kana ari maarchitecture machii maplani machii vobva vafly back kuBeijing vonodevelopa maconcepts acho, vonodevelopa intelligence vanenge vachitora. There's a time when Huawei, right? The Huawei, the is it Huawei? Yes, Huawei. Huawei is here. I think it is, yeah. This tech company, it had gotten a tender in the UK to develop a 5G network, and you know what? When that happened, 5G fiber network, the British panicked. Why? Because they could see the Chinese are going to end up getting intelligence, and the Chinese were not going to mess up, because Chinese value intelligence. Any opportunity to get data, to get wisdom, they're always there, and they'll do it quietly. Zimbabweans tuzu ndimulenge mchibirwa nemchingobirwa. Ndio problem nemagenerals mese, magenerals makapusa. Sorry henyu ndikukudzai makapusa. Ende maZimbabweans makapusa. Handisi kukudzai kuti ndiri ku2K, but wake up. Mese vekuzanu makapusa. Veku-opposition ukana chamusa makapusa. You need to wake up. Copy the Chinese. Look at the Chinese, how they've developed themselves. Look at how now they are now a sophisticated country, a sophisticated community. Why? Because vano value intelligence. Iwo unoda kungoshandisa vanhu. Ukada kufonera vana Simba Chikanza ungoda kuzama instructions. Apo unongochiuraiwa, unongochipoisonwa nana Mnangagwa. Your problem iri kuitika iyoyi. AmaZimbabweans, you don't value intelligence. I was investigating in gold mafia in one. Chief so much work for nearly 4 years. 4 years. Those who contactwa nevarungu, nema Arabs. Uko BBC, uko Al Jazeera, vachindifondera, hey, Simba, can you work fast? Can you work fast? Ndichiwatiza. Hapana kana one muZimbabwe ndakamboona kuti ngatite GoFundMe. Timbopa Simba Chikanza small lump sum. Ati investigated kuri kuenda mari yedu kuDubai ukoko, so that we can take that money. Once Simba Chikanza produces this documentary, and then from that information we can then help to execute arrest, and then we take that money from wherever it is. We arrest Kamlesh Patni while he's in transit. We arrest Hubert Anjo. We arrest so and so. Then we take that money and we take it back. We seize it. Toitora, toizura. Apana kana one. And up to this day, ever since that documentary was produced, apana kana one Zimbabwe natambondudza Simba tipo mafera vongoshana god ku Al Jazeera totora mafera so that we can take over man. Apana kana munhu one. Mukon to haiwa isusu nevarungu nema Arabs. When Zimbabweans, you have got so much power. Data is power. Data is power. And that data, listen to me, think about it, Zimbabweans. Imagine if gold mafia, right? If I had produced it, and I was saying, produce and Zimbabwe is 3 days, commit, Yema Zimba. We are producing our own documentary, investigator, thefts of our gold and our US dollars that Mnangagwa is sending to Dubai. And do you know what would have happened? That investigation would have been the editorial decision making. Huh? It would have been our own. We would have not been dictated to. Nema Arabs. Also, nema Arabs never rungu. Itachakadai. O involva mpava dzinonzi vana hopo chingono vai. Vanenge vachingozvishandisa kuti iwo vavharidzire umpava hwavo and all that. It would have been Zimbabweans coming together. Chigadzira chini chedu and ensuring kuti documentary richipera documentary area. Pakurohwa masports ekusungisa vanhu. Mari yotorwa. And our people benefit. But right now, hapana kana munhu one. And a year later, hapana kana munhu one atambofuna ngatidai. Saka right now kana Mnangagwa akuzokusungai achikusvikira kumba kwenyu mosungwa modai muchingoharaswa muchingokandwa remand prison. Who do you blame? Who do you blame than yourselves? Aiwa vaZimbabweans, who do you blame? Pandori kuitika iyoyo. That is what is happening. Mm. So I'm gonna just be reading my comments here quickly. I'm hoping people are getting what we're talking about right now. Anzi nemwe panapa. Anzi so apa uri kuti iko iwe oda kuitira GoFundMe kuti wadi chindori chindozi. Handisi kuda GoFundMe. Ndangotaura chete as an example yekuti people could have easily raised money so that paitike quality productions, news productions aya iwawa ane data where intelligence information has been gathered so that our people benefit, so that you don't get hit by surprises. Mnangagwa doesn't hit you by surprises. That is the point. I hope you get it there. That was a metaphor. Kana uchinzwisa chinonzi metaphor inda ku Google kana ku dictionary. Hi Simba Chiramba, how you doing? Right. Ernest Buraya says Parliament yavakavakirwa iya machina achatotora information. Yes. Imagine now you were Ernest. Parliament we could have built that parliament. Diasporans could have built that parliament. It could have easily built that parliament. Paingweswa a levy. Paingo ngobchajwa a levy kuma embassy. Ku South Africa kunzi 10 US per person. Imagine kuti we've got potentially 4 or 5 million in South Africa. So those 4 million or so, 5 million, if I charge 10 US for instance, already Maria to Kwanaka, 10 US times 5 million imari. Yato Kwanaka Maria Kuvaka Nigrin, Yakuvaka a parliament building. So simple. Eh. And the Yaiwakone is just over data. You problem right now. We don't value research and development. That's why Zimbabweans we keep getting hit by surprises. Togarachingoro and nema surprises. Every time. The truth is wakapusa. Because Mnangagwa should have been the first person you would have stopped. I'm being frank. Fair panapa. Mnangagwa should not be a problem. If people operated in intelligence, it should not have been a problem. Not a problem, but I mean, you know what? Hey, Mnangagwa is the problem here. I mean, I have illustrated it, haven't I? Mnangagwa is the problem. I is the problem. I'm a Zimbabweans, Dimi, a problem because you don't value intelligence. Munomirira kurowa, you are reactive. You wait to be hit and then you react. Be proactive. Set up research systems, research institutes where you get quality advice, quality decision making that you make. The problem is you wait to be hit. That is the problem. Someone is saying, tell us my scandals are you bet Anjos. Akawanda, my scandals are you bet Anjos. Akawanda. But I'm sure you watched the Gold Mafia, didn't you, Lynn? Chimbo no watch Gold Mafia. My scandals are you bet Anjo Akawanda. Apana mpava, kunda you bet. But by the way, I want to tell you, by the way, Lynn, let me tell you something. You bet Anjo hana do na hopo chingono pa umbava. You bet Anjo mana kuna hopo pa umbava. I need to tell you that so that you know. Some of you don't see it. Journalism na hopo zezia umbava kuvaridzira umbava. The same way that Hubert uses religion, uses the Bible, quoting scriptures every time, talking nice, singing, being eloquent. Uku hopo anenga achishandisa journalism kuvaridzira. and so-called, hey, they expose the corruption, they expose the corruption. You bet Atori Chanana. If you want to understand you bet, you need to see Hopewell. Ndakudza Zimbabweans. Ndati nini? Kana muchida kunzwisisa, if you want to understand Hubert Angel's corruption, look at Hopewell Chingono, and then who you will know who Hubert Angel is. Did that make sense, Lynn? I said, if you want to understand Hubert Angel's corruption, look at Hopewell Chingono. I hope you get it. Ababandrupa intelligence. It is very, very simple also. Ndatopa intelligence. Mukasana research. Ipapa ameno zenyu. Mazimbabweans. Mucharowa. Kuseru kanditika. Mucharowa kugods. Ndakupa ima intelligence. So I said, and I will repeat. If you want to understand, I'm answering someone who said to me, give us data about Hubert Angel's corruption. Hubert Angel's, yeah. The best way to understand Hubert Angel's corruption is to simply look at a man called Hopo Chingono. Understand the power behind Hopo Chingono, and then you will understand the power behind Hubert Angel. It's called disguise. It's called the power of disguise. Vakomana ivava makoronyera edisguise. Vanogona magame ekudisguisa, ekuvharidzira, magemo ekushandisa talk, conversations that appear as if they are something when they are not. Ndiyo vachona ivava vakomana vacho ivava. And they are the arena. These two boys are the arena of the next battle for Zimbabwe. These two boys and their clique. Okay, so quickly, where are we? Where are we here? Anzi Hubert Angeri is a national liability and ane mepo ze umbava. Hubert Ari better. Hubert is 10% of Hopo Chingono when it comes to liability to a country. If you don't get this, you shall be hit like what is happening to these generals. Ucharoa nekuser ukoko. Mangwana. If you don't get it, and if you don't research after this broadcast, you don't go and research for yourself how corrupt and how filthy Hopo Chingono is, that he is 10 times Hubert Angel, who Hubert Angel is. You shall be hit by something that is going to hit you from behind, the same way these generals are being hit one after the other since 1977. Oh man, my generals there, they've spent 48 years being hit by Mnangagwa from behind, simply because they did not value intelligence. Problem with